Bullshit.
The No BS Show is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/NoBS. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. It's the No BS Marketing Show. I'm Dave Mastovich. Our guest today is Rick Irwin, CEO of IntegraCare. But first, let's cut the bullshit. I want to talk to you about mission statements and values and visions of companies because there's a big misnomer that happens, and Rick and I will dig into this, and it ties to leadership. Starting off, let's just take one. McDonald's brand mission is to be our customers' favorite place and way to eat and drink. McDonald's brand mission is to be our customers' favorite place and way to eat and drink. Just as a writer person, that's not really grammatically correct, and it's kind of awkward, but they're saying that their mission is that they want us to, it to be our favorite place and way to eat and drink. That's a good example of a mission statement that's a reach, because it's not that McDonald's can't be a good place. It's not that McDonald's can't serve a need, but it's unlikely that McDonald's is going to win as the customer's favorite place and way to eat. I think that that's just a bit of a reach on the messaging side, and that's their mission statement. At Staples, we are committed to truly making a difference through the preservation of the Earth's resources and the betterment of our communities. At Staples, we are committed to truly making a difference through the preservation of the Earth's resources and the betterment of our communities. Again, nice, grandiose, but is that really what Staples is all about? Is that what we, the customers, think of McDonald's and think of Staples? When we are going out for a big date, do we say, let's go to McDonald's? When we're celebrating our anniversary, how often do we say, I want to go to my favorite restaurant? And it's McDonald's. When it's a holiday or a big event and we want to go to our favorite place, do we go to McDonald's? When we think of Staples, do we think of the environment? Do we think of preserving the Earth's resources? We think probably about getting Staples or office supplies, because the mission statement and the values of an organization have to be real, and they have to be authentic, and they have to be tied to what you do. You can't just you can do whatever you want, but you can't successfully convey that vision and values and mission if it isn't believable by your own team and by your target audiences. So it's how you message that and how you live that then, because then the second thing about mission statements is even when someone has a good one, like Starbucks has a pretty good one talking about how they want to change each community with each cup of coffee and each visit, but it becomes then, how do leaders behave? How do they live the values more than the words? So first, the words have to be attainable, they have to be believable, and they have to be realistic, but then the words still don't matter anywhere near as much as how leaders behave, how leaders live the values. So you have to figure out what behaviors express each of those values, then do that behavior and talk about how it ties to that value. And this is the reason that mission statements for the past 50 years have been something that are put on a wall but rarely lived and breathed and thought of, because they haven't thought about how the behaviors are that express each value within those value statements, and then live those behaviors that express that value, and then talk about it so you can bring clarity through over communication and through your behaviors. In other words, you can cut the BS. Our guest today is Rick Irwin, CEO of IntegraCare Corporation, Mass Solutions' first ever and longest standing client. Rick co-founded IntegraCare almost 19 years ago and is considered to be a pioneer in the assisted living industry. Rick and IntegraCare were one of the first founding companies of Assisted Living Federation of America. Rick's a true leader, and that's why I chose that rant. He values hard work, transparency, and persistence, and he has a novel mission statement that they live and breathe at IntegraCare, and we're going to talk about that. Rick, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dave.
And Rick has a very defined sense of humor that you're going to notice as he cuts up here with me in a subtle way. Rick, just give me your first observations about my Cut the BS rant tied to mission statements, vision, values, and how leaders have to convey that through living the behaviors.
I agree completely. You have to have a mission statement that you can live up to or closely live up to. And that mission statement has to apply directly to what you can deliver. And so if you're an office products company, to say you're going to deliver a better environment as your primary mission, that's not what your customers are looking for, just like you stated. Customers are looking for the products that'll help their office be more productive. So it's like our mission statement. Our mission statement is to improve the lives of our team members, who those team members improve the lives of our residents, and then our residents' families' lives are improved because of our team members. So we believe it first starts with our employees.
Now, when we first talked about that mission way back in 1999, 2000, I remember when you first started going out with that mission, some people came back and said, I'm about to spend $30,000, $40,000, whatever it was, for my mom to be in here. And you're telling me your mission is to enhance the life of your employees or take care of your team members first. And what I loved about it was you took it and made it into a three-dimensional focus by talking first about how the team had to be taken care of because in your industry there's such a high degree of turnover, and then that team would take care of the resident and the family. Talk about how much of a messaging challenge that was way back when you started.
Well, we've actually had people call us and say our mission statement is wrong, that, the customer comes first. The customer is always right. And it's kind of gets to what you were saying. These are platitudes that people quote that are basically false. They're phony. The customer's not always right, especially in healthcare. If I want to go and try to diagnose my own neurological problems and override my, my surgeon, I'm the customer, but that doesn't mean it's right. And I think we've had people criticize that to say that all you care about is your employees. But the true fact is it's not a chicken and egg question. It starts with those employees. Without those employees, there is no care for our customer. Without those employees feeling valued, important, knowing they matter, knowing they're recognized for the impact and improvement they're making on people's lives, then the customer cannot be served. And so it is a definite sequence. There are no happy customers in our business without fulfilled or satisfied employees.
So now one of the things in my rant was that once you get the mission down to where it's believable and authentic and it's something you want to aspire to, how do you get the whole leadership team and the middle management and all the employees to live that mission?
It's hard. First of all, we don't always, we're not always successful in meeting that mission, but it's a continuous process. And basically, I think it's key that the leaders of the company have to live that. Their actions and continuing reinforcement verbally of that mission has to occur. You can't write the mission statement, distribute it, put it on the bottom of our email, and then say we've done our work. I mean, it really has to be part of every decision and everything that you do in leadership. And that's not only the top home office leadership. We're talking about the leadership at the community level. And you have to hire people who generally almost always or all need to come to you that way. We really can't change the fundamental nature of somebody. Somebody's a narcissist and a leader by authority, a leader by power. That's not going to work. We can't change them into somebody who's unselfish and shows gratitude to others. So it really has to do with those platitudes of unselfishness and the capacity to be grateful for every employee in the company that's doing their job. and express that gratitude. Now, we also have formalized programs and reward systems that are extensive, but without the behavioral and honest expression of gratitude and reinforcement when our staff does a good job, and recognize them each as individuals, then we won't be able to live that mission.
Rick, you and I met when I was vice president of the healthcare system, and we were working with your previous company. And then shortly thereafter, you started IntegraCare. So you became the first client of Mass Solutions and remained that client since more than 15 years later, about 16. So I had the chance to work on a lot of stuff, and I want to go down a path that you and I were talking about before we hit the on-air button. You have always strongly believed in the executive director playing such a pivotal role. And I want you to talk about that then if you want to elaborate a little on that one humorous story we talked about. But I want the audience to hear how honest and transparent you are with executive directors about how important they are, because you see that as a major piece of your company's success.
Right. So the executive director role in our business is basically like the CEO of each senior living community. It's a hard job because it's 24/7. We never close. We have none of our customers want to be our customer. So you're dealing with the fact that many times they don't want to be our customer and want to go home. The families are in great distress. Families many times come to us in conflict among each other. There's guilt feelings. And then we have all the regulatory issues as a regulated business by the government. We have all the other facets of operating our business: food service, marketing, pharmacy, recruiting, retention, and training of people. It's an extremely difficult job, and the average person cannot do that job. We have to have a person that has really a lot of emotional maturity and the ability to deal with stress and many forces interacting upon that person all at once. And so we try to be honest at that point for those that would interview for those jobs that may not have been an executive director. And we try to express, what the reality and the burden of leadership, and we use the term servant leadership, the burden of leadership and the type of leadership we expect. We don't expect leadership through an autocratic order-giving methodology, but we expect that executive director is going to gain the confidence and trust, and the people will follow that executive director because they trust that person, and they may not have to really like that person, but they see that person as the person with answers and ability to help them do their job.
One example that I thought was humorous when you and I were just laughing about it is many people during that process got pumped because you'd say to them, "You are in the most critical position. We value this position so much. Our success depends on you." So Rick and Lorianne Poutier would have me have once a month, I would spend a half day with any new hires from the executive director standpoint, the any kind of regional director, and any kind of marketing or person in a selling capacity. And I was to convey the mission, the messaging, how they would convey that messaging, and also go through the sales process. And we were laughing about this one instance where you would always come in, and at some point during the training, you would come in and you would be yourself, which is very dry sense of humor, sarcasm, poking fun at yourself. And at first, people don't get it. And Annie Spiewak didn't quite know what to think when she first met you, and I didn't prep her. Normally, I prep people and say, just be prepared. So you come in every month and you would do this, and the people would kind of be taken aback. Then you'd walk out and we'd joke and say you were joking. But this one time, and you brought it up to me as a memory, was when you came in. And just walk us through that one where you had this person at a critical property, and you came in and gave this spiel.
This was they had already interviewed with us. She was beginning her training. You were training her on the marketing component. And so you were in a break or something. So I popped in, and she was alone in the conference room, and I wanted to share with her our feelings and our view of what is the role of the executive director and the expectations that we have for our executive directors, which are really high. and the concepts of leadership that we aspire to. The concept of basically that, you need to be comfortable with yourself. You need to be transparent. People need to know what you're thinking. You need, if you make a mistake or if you're uncertain, you need to express that so they know that you're not a phony. They know that you're in it with them. And then I would express all of the forces that impinge on an executive director. And so basically then, as you know, after I left, after that explanation, you came to me and said, what the heck did you tell her? She's going to quit. And I think that the reality is that I bet you the job's even harder than what I had expressed, but people are not accustomed to open transparency. They expect that no matter what the CEO is saying, he's selling them, he's schmoozing them, and whatever is being said at that time, it must be even worse. And so, I had to go in and calm her down, and I had to swallow my pride and essentially apologize for telling the truth. But I don't think most people are ready for transparency. I think, and there are levels of transparency, but I don't think most people are, or can even sometimes receive the open transparency.
We're going to talk more about that because it's a big part of leadership, and I agree with you completely. The No BS Show is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/NoBS. Try a book that Rick is probably going to remember. It's a big 90s organizational development leadership book called The Fifth Discipline. The Fifth Discipline, The Art and Practice of the Learning Organization by Peter Senge. You can download it for free today. It's an oldie but a goodie. Go to audibletrial.com/NoBS. Again, that's audibletrial.com/NoBS for your free audiobook. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. We're with Rick Irwin, the CEO of IntegraCare Corporation. You just touched on something huge. It's about feedback and transparency and how people struggle to deal with both. Let's just talk a little bit more about it.
Yeah, I think one of the most powerful tools in existence is transparency. We say you have nothing to fear if you have nothing to hide. And when we first started the company, we were only a 3-person company. And, I got this advice to say that when you're entering into a transaction with somebody, it's a significant transaction. Maybe you're the salesperson, maybe you're the project manager. But if there are things, potential landmines that you are aware of that will kill that deal, if they find out, if the other party finds out, and it jeopardizes the deal and all the work you've put in and all the work they've put in, it's best in the first meeting to bring it up, to say, this is my fear. And so we started out doing joint ventures with hospitals, doing senior living communities, hospitals, Dave, that, as you said, that's how we met. And when we were a 3-person company with no money, hospitals tend to be bigger organizations, well capitalized, and tend to use the larger firms for whatever they need done. And so what we would say initially is, by the way, this idea, this vision of senior living affiliated with acute care has great ideas, very powerful, great synergies, and many hospitals have been successful with it. And we think that'll be compelling to you. But we don't want to get down the road and then have the accountants or the lenders and ask us for our balance sheet, and then you see we have nothing. And it's just us, and we're just starting. So in our first meeting, we would say, if that's going to be a stumbling block for you, just throw us out of the office now, and we're not going to waste your time or our time. And without hesitation, none of these hospital CEOs, they just said, that's not an issue. We have the assets. We just need the expertise. However, the other scenario might be if we never brought that up and we're 6 months down the road and we're making applications to lenders to finance the project, and we show that we're nothing more than three people, and it comes up at that point. Then the CEO's got to deal with his board. Who are they? Do they have any substance? We're putting this multi-million-dollar project in their hands. Why didn't you know that? And I have to say that in any of our transactions, when we've come up with those fears and get them on the table first, lay them out, there aren't any surprises. We don't have to worry. Are they going to find out? Is this going to blow the deal up? And you gain so much respect for that, at least for us. I mean, there have been many people very successful without being transparent. We can name, any of us can name many of them. Okay. So I'm not saying it's the only way. It has to fit your own value system. You work best within your own belief system. If you step out of your own belief system, it's phony, it's weak. But the strength is, being true to yourself, working within your value system. And we try to have that as our value system.
You touched on something that Robert Cialdini out of Stanford University wrote a book in the late 90s about called Influence. He just wrote an updated version of it. And he has the 6 principles of influence that are studied across all humanity. And one of them is admit your weaknesses early, because people are going to sense them anyway,
right,
especially in this world we live in today where anyone can find anything out. So you were practicing that principle of influence because it's part of your value system of transparency and honesty, but it also plays on the influence side because it did gain their trust. And what it also does is it gets rid of a fake maybe. If that was going to bother someone, they might not tell you right there because they don't want to admit that that's the reason, but then they wouldn't have bought you for some other reason, but that was the reason.
Right. But I also think surprises, especially when you're dealing with leaders of substantial organizations, surprises are something that they want to avoid all the time. And,
Absolutely. So we're with Rick Irwin, the president of, the CEO of IntegraCare Corporation. Rick, this show's about leadership and communication. We really focus a lot on both. Talk about your journey to date. Give whatever parts of it you think are interesting or relevant, because I think a lot of it is. You and I have talked a lot about way back when, some of the places you were as a developer and your dealings with large healthcare systems, and then one company that grew, and then you mentioned another company, and then now IntegraCare has been 19 years. Talk a little bit about how you got to this point.
Basically, my business partner, Lorianne Puzzi, and I, we talk about it. Our previous careers, we worked for a lot of difficult employers. Lorianne was in the human resources business. She was with, I believe, health plan before she got into senior living. I was in the real estate development business before that. And the journey to where we got to was more out of the dissatisfaction for working with disingenuous and manipulative bosses, and just saying, we just want to start a company where that's different. Now, I'm not saying that we are perfect, but we strive to be non-manipulative and genuine. And we never really intended, to make a large business that we have that has significant assets, but that was the result. And so, the journey basically started with the idea of, we're tired of working for knuckleheads. And so I'm sure maybe my former employers listening to this might not like that comment, but it's true. So, so we started the company in hospital affiliated projects, and working with hospitals has its benefits, has its difficulties. But then we got the opportunity to acquire non-performing senior living communities. And that involved for us having to go out to the private equity markets, to the venture capitalists, and raise tens of millions of dollars to acquire non-performing senior living communities. And that put kind of long pants on us, because the these private equity groups, these venture capitalists, are all very sharp people managing hundreds of millions of dollars, and are very quick to judge, the right leadership and the right business people. And we failed in our first few attempts to raise that money because we did not understand truly what it took to run these businesses and deal with the financial aspects of them. So, however, it was a true education process. I mean, I don't know if I could have gotten an MBA that would have given us the tools then to go and further. And so, subsequent to those first two tries, we've never failed to raise the capital, and we've always raised the capital on the idea of transparency, on the idea of showing that investor, here's the upside, but here are all the downsides also. And if these downsides occur, here's what our reaction is going to be to them to address them. But here's some downsides. If they occur, we have no answer to, and all would be lost. Now, when you bring those up, the investors already know that, but they certainly like to hear that you realize that also. And so that's basically now the what we have had to do to continue to build our company, which is raise lots of capital from very sharp people who keep us sharp.
Hear more of my interview with Rick Irwin on part 2 of the No BS Marketing Show. Visit masssolutions.biz for show notes, plus additional marketing and messaging resources like our No BS Marketing Weekly Update. Sign up and receive timely, valuable ideas to improve your marketing and transform your message. Again, visit masssolutions.biz. Remember, ask yourself, what's the big idea? And build your story around the answer. It's all about bold solutions, no BS.